What is up? I hope everyone's having a good day. I saw Surgical Goblin using this deck, and I decided to play it because I like Skeleton King and I like Mortar. So, into our first match against Mui. These are going to be some really interesting games. I have a game against Golem as well as this Ram Rider deck. So he decides to Bar Barrel early on. And I was waiting to Skeleton King. Like, if he were to play something like Dark Prince or something like that, Skeleton King is really cool to cycle into a card, but not into, obviously, if he snowballed it. So he used both of his spells, which I didn't really want to play Bats in case if he had Balloon, as you can see. And obviously they don't get any value. The Dark Goblin, he has to respond to with the Bats, he doesn't. So now I know what he's playing because of the Ram Rider, and I outcycled his Bar Barrel and his Snowball. So I just kind of wait here, and I go in for Mortar just to see kind of whatever else he's using. And he goes in for a Bandit. Again, playing Skarmy low. I'm not playing it right up next to the Bandit because of the Bar Barrel. And there comes the Bar Barrel again as well. So we kind of repeat a little cycle here. I go ahead and Dark Goblin at the bridge again. Probably a better move in hindsight would have been Bats and Skeleton Barrel. But either way, because as you can see, he gets a +1 trade. And if I would have Bat Skeleton Barrel, it would have been a lot harder for him to defend it. So I go ahead and cycle a Mortar, because it's going to be... if he were to go Ram Rider opposite lane and like Prediction Snowball, it could be bad for me, but not too bad. Skeleton Army at the bridge with the Skeleton King, because I want to collect those souls. And we didn't manage to get any hits on the tower, but we got a good Skeleton King ability, which he's going to have to respond to. So he decides to go ahead and Archer Queen, which is a pretty decent play by him. I don't know about that Snowball. I think he was just trying to keep the Archer Queen alive and not have to use the ability. So pretty well played on his part. I go ahead and cycle a Skeleton Barrel into that Queen. Skeleton Barrels are pretty good at countering Queen. I think he was using the ability there, but it was a little late. I was a little late on the Bats, and then again straight into the Mortar, because I know he can Ram Rider, but I'll just Skeleton King Skarmy, and that'll, I mean, she might get a charge if he Prediction Snowballs, but I didn't play Skarmy at the bridge there because I thought he might Prediction Bar Barrel. He didn't end up doing it, so I didn't use the King's ability there because obviously it wouldn't really be worth it. So I go ahead and cycle Dark Goblin there as well to clean up things. He uses an E-Wiz. Bats to clean that up, Skarmy to clean up the Queen, and I play Skeleton King as soon as I can to get some of those souls. So as you can see here, this is going to be pretty nasty for him because he used the Bar Barrel as well, which was a lot of elixir. I mean, he was already low on elixir, so he should have just played something different. And so he's really low on elixir whenever he plays that E-Wiz and that Bandit, and pretty much right there is where we won the game. So again, low Skarmy because he has Bar Barrel. I don't want him to be able to Bar Barrel things, so I just go ahead and go in here, and this is, right around here is the first time he plays. That's a really good Fireball, by the way. Fireball value that I got right there. I think it plays a P.E.K.K.A into this, if I remember right. This was a pretty terrible Mortar, if... I mean, because I was assuming the Skeleton King would be able to hit the Ram Rider, and it wasn't, so that Mortar, like, really was kind of pointless. So he decides to play P.E.K.K.A into this, which was pretty much his last fatal mistake, and then snowball those Spear Goblins. So Bar Barrel can't clean up the whole lane. As you can see, he's going to try, but there's still so many skeletons, and then there's Bats. I played Spear Goblins here to protect from the Bandit, but it doesn't really matter. We end up just go ahead and taking the tower because of the low HP. So that was a pretty fun game. I think if you hadn't messed up that E-Wiz, it definitely would have gone longer. But let's go ahead and hop into our next game. Now this is a game against Golem, I believe. So there's a pretty interesting spot in the middle where I mess up a Mortar, and it'll be very interesting. So he plays Baby Dragon here. I'm thinking, I honestly was thinking Balloon Freeze at this point. So when I saw the Lumberjack, that's when I started thinking Balloon Freeze. I was like, oh no, I just cycled 2 of my air cards. So that's why I was hovering Mortar, in case if he decided to go in for a balloon with that. But instead he does Cannon Cart. And something you guys need to know when you're playing against, because this is Golem at this point, I realize it's Golem. When you're playing against Golem Cannon Cart, right now they usually run Lightning. So you can go aggressive with your Mortars and Single Elixir and not get punished at all. So keep that in mind, and because their cycle's so heavy and they don't have Night Witch. So it's really easy for you to clean up. This Mortar is absolutely awful. You see that? That Mortar, because the Cannon Cart died, it pushed it back. So now, I mean, usually you wouldn't be able to. That Skeleton Army he just ignores too, which is not good. Usually he would have to respond to the Mortar and he wouldn't be able to go in for Golem. Or if he did go in for Golem, it'd be bad. Not gonna lie, I was sweating a little bit here, but going in with a Golem for him in Single Elixir is very bad. Because, I mean, he doesn't have support troops. He doesn't have enough Elixir. I Skarmied here. I didn't really care if he bar barreled it or tornadoed it or whatever he wanted to do, because I knew that I would be able to use my ability. And as you can see, he just doesn't have enough Elixir for enough support troops. He probably played that Lumberjack at 0. So, not the best Fireball, but considering he completely ignored that Skarmy, I decided not to play anything else. As you can see, we close to even out in damage. I mean, he's got a little more damage than I do. But I'm very confident that I'll be able to defend his Golems. So confident that I almost played a Mortar here, but then I was like, I might be low on Elixir, so I waited. Also, you don't really want to play Mortar in double Elixir, because they might be able to get you in double Elixir. But the Skeleton King and the Skeleton Army clean up Golems so well. So as you can see here, I just start hypercycling and get back to my Mortar and Skeleton Barrel. You would think this would be a bad play, but he has very thick troops. I mean, it's very hard for him to build up a push and completely ignore this. Probably, in hindsight for him, it would have been way better for him to ignore it. But, so he tornadoes that Skarmy, and I go ahead and go for a high Mortar to pull the Golem as well as distract the Baby Dragon. Now, as you can see, he's got to play something in the middle, so he can't play super aggressive. And again, I'm just cycling right back to things. So even though I messed up that Mortar placement early on, I definitely made up for it. And of course, he messes up his Barb Barrel. So, that Mortar was just really unfortunate at the beginning, but Skeleton King Skarmy is super underrated because it cleans up Golems so easily, even with all his spells. And after he used that the Tornado, and I forgot what his other spell was. I think I even went and checked. Let's see. Yeah, I checked to see how many spells he has. So he had Tornado, Barb Barrel, and Lightning. Very interesting. So into our last win of the Grand Challenge, our flawless Grand Challenge. This deck, oh my goodness, the deck my opponent was playing was so weird. You'll have to wait and see. I screwed up early on and almost lost. And there is definitely a very good lesson here for those of you that maybe aren't like super good at being patient and things like that. Being patient is a lot of what Clash Royale is about. You have to be patient, and you can't play things too quick, but you can't play them too late. But the longer you can wait without playing something, the better usually. So I'll point it out whenever we get to it. But he decides to go Sparky in the back first play. Mortar is usually pretty good against Sparky, especially this Mortar deck because of all the swarm. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a pretty easy deck, pretty easy matchup. But unfortunately, my Dark Goblin pulled the Giant Skeleton. You can see the Giant Skeleton was going towards the Dark Goblin. I would never have played that Skarmy otherwise. So he kind of got a little bit lucky there. I wasn't expecting the Dark Goblin to get pulled. So I went ahead and went in aggressive here, and this is pretty much my first mistake. He E-Wiz. I thought I could Fireball that, and those bats would kill it. But instead, I mean, he has Executioner E-Wiz. Like, what in the world? I wasn't expecting it at all. So, here is where I was patient. And as you can see, if I would have played something, I could have lost my entire tower right here. But instead, I was patient and played units to distract and ended up walking away with 1,300 HP still left on my tower. But if I had played Dark Goblin any earlier, I would guaranteed have lost that tower. So, this guy actually isn't playing any spell except for Rage. So you think, oh, this would be a good match, except for he has so many splash cards, as you'll see here in a minute. So I know I can go aggressive here because of how many thick units he has. Going aggressive Mortar is very, very good in single, whenever you're going against someone who has a lot of heavier cards. So I actually completely let that go just because of the position I'm in. It's not very good to defend that mortar right now. I go Dark Goblin in opposite lane, so obviously the skeleton, the giant skeleton won't kill the Dark Goblin, and then use a skeleton barrel to protect the Dark Goblin, and this is where I get a lot of my damage actually. So there, like I said, another splash unit that can splash. So I'm just kind of like, what in the world is this? My Skeleton King splashed onto the tower though, which was really, really nice. So I don't want to use Fireball, remember. So I'm just kind of like in limbo mode here because I can't use Fireball. Messed up that Skarmy, which was really unfortunate, but it wasn't the end of the world. I go in aggressive here again. Bats. Spear Goblins. I just need to get that damage on one of the towers. So I had to wait for that bomb to explode before I could do anything. This is a prediction Fireball, believe it or not. I thought he was going to play that Witch, but I got lucky that that Fireball hit. And because he's playing such a thick deck, he wasn't able to actually play anything else. So I kind of got lucky there a little bit. But the game's not over yet at all yet, as you'll see. I still have to go through quite a bit more to win, because with all the troops he has... Oh, by the way, this is a godly Skarmy. You see that Skarmy? Amazing. Oh, yeah. So, Skeleton King... I'm sorry, Giant Skeleton Bombs on tower. Not very nice for me. But I went ahead and went in here because Dark Goblin's extremely annoying for him because he doesn't have a big spell. I would rather the Dark Goblin have finished off the Executioner, but I guess you can't have your cake and eat it too. So, again, now he shows a Mega Knight, which is like, holy smokes, dude, what deck is this? Like, he just needs a balloon and everything will be complete. So, I went ahead and Skeleton Barreled and went in a little bit here, which probably wasn't the best idea, but because he went Minion Horde, it worked out well for me. And I was able to get the souls of that Minion Horde and everything else, so I can clean all this up pretty easily. I don't think I end up using the ability yet. Yeah, because the thing is, it's kind of, the ability's kind of pointless in this sort of matchup because he's got so much splash. It's just like there's no point in using it. But now I see an opportunity to go in because remember, he doesn't have a spell. That's why I Skarmied opposite lane, Bats. I started just spamming stuff because he does not have a spell and he can't take care of that Dark Goblin. So the more I can just place units in front of it and protect it. And you see how I'm hesitant to Fireball. I didn't want to Fireball because I'm scared of his Minion Horde, but we were able to get enough damage to where that Fireball finished off the tower. So, good game to this guy, even though like the craziest, the weirdest deck I've seen out of 12 win by far. I think I'll go ahead and open the chest. We get Gold, Musketeers, Goblin Hut, Royal Giant, Ice Spirit, Dark Prince, Arrows, Zap. Oh, some Mortars, that's good. And so I think I went ahead and checked on that guy's deck because his deck was like 5.0 average elixir. Yeah, like dude, that's so crazy ridiculous. But anyhow, either way, flawless GC with this deck. It's a lot of fun to play. So if you guys are looking for a deck to try out, this is definitely the deck to try. So with that being said, peace out. I will see you guys later.